The silence in that banquet hall was heavier than a fully loaded flatbed on an icy grade. A minute ago, it was all clinking glass and polite laughter, officers in dress blues patting each other on the back. Now, the only sound was the heavy, wet drip of blood falling from my knuckles onto the polished tile floor. I stood there, chest heaving, my flannel shirt torn at the shoulder, looking like exactly what I was, a ghost from a world they didn't want to remember. 3 MPs had their hands on their holsters, unsure whether to drop me or salute me, but I wasn't looking at them. I was looking at the colonel. He was a statue, his face drained of color, his eyes locked, not on the man I'd just put through a serving table, but on the faded, jagged ink on my forearm that had been hidden for 20 years until the fight ripped my sleeve. He whispered something nobody else heard, but I read his lips. It was a name, my name, and suddenly the air left the room. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from. Drop your city and mile marker. We love seeing how far our stories travel. I never liked bases. They smell like starch, diesel, and anxiety. But I made a promise to a man who died in the cab of my truck 3 years ago, and Jack Mercer doesn't break promises. Just watch her get the stripes, Jack, Miller had said, coughing into a handkerchief that came away red. She's got nobody else to pin 'em on. Her mum's gone. I'm going, just stand there, so she knows she's got family. So there I was, parked 3 miles outside the gate at a truck stop that charged too much for coffee, trying to scrub the grease from under my fingernails in a bathroom mirror that was more cracked than glass. I didn't own a suit. I had a clean pair of Wranglers, a black button-down that wasn't too wrinkled, and my boots. That was as good as it was going to get. I drove the rig to the visitor lot, the security check taking 20 minutes because the young MP didn't know what to make of a long-haul Peterbilt trying to park next to sedans and jeeps. I walked the half-mile to the assembly hall, the humid Carolina heat making my shirt stick to my back. My knees popped with every step, a reminder of too many miles and too many jumps I shouldn't have taken back in the day. The hall was crowded. Promotion ceremony, a big deal for these kids. I found a corner in the back, behind a row of fake ficus trees, and scanned the room. It took a minute, but I found her. Sarah. She looked like her dad around the eyes, but she held herself stiffer, like she was afraid if she relaxed, she'd shatter. She was a specialist about to make sergeant. She should have been smiling, she wasn't. She was standing near the buffet table, clutching a glass of water like a lifeline. And looming over her was a man who took up too much space. Captain's bars on his shoulders, a jawline that looked like it was chiseled out of arrogance, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was leaning in too close, invading her personal space in that way that looks casual to a stranger, but feels like a cage to the person inside it. I shifted my weight, the floorboards creaking under my boots. I told myself to stay put. Not your world, Jack. You're just here to watch. But I've spent a lifetime reading body language on the road. The way a car swerves before a drunk driver passes out. The way a hitchhiker tenses up when they're hiding a knife. I knew fear when I saw it. Sarah was terrified. The captain whispered something in her ear. She flinched, spilling a little water on her uniform skirt. She started apologizing, grabbing napkins, her hands shaking. The captain didn't help. He just watched her scramble, sipping his drink, enjoying the show. He said something else, louder this time. "Clean it up, specialist. You want those stripes? You better learn to handle a little pressure. Or maybe you need a private lesson." The innuendo hung there, gross and sticky. A few other officers nearby glanced over, saw the rank difference and looked away. That's how it works, the heavy roll over the light. I felt that familiar heat in my gut. It's a low idle, a rumble that starts in the chest. I took a breath, forcing it down. Don't make a scene. You'll ruin her day. The ceremony started, speeches, flags, salutes. I watched Sarah march up to the stage. She moved mechanically. When the colonel, a grey-haired man with a chest full of ribbons, pinned the stripes on her collar, she didn't look proud. She looked like she was trying not to cry. She saluted, turned, and walked off the stage, heading straight for the side exit instead of returning to her seat. I followed. The side door led to a narrow alleyway behind the kitchen, filled with dumpsters and the hum of industrial HVAC units. It was darker out here, the sun dipping below the barracks roofs. Sarah was leaning against the brick wall, hyperventilating, tugging at the collar of her dress uniform like it was choking her. "Sarah," I said softly. She jumped, spinning around, eyes wide. When she saw me, her shoulders dropped about 3 inches. "Jack, you came?" "Promised your dad," I said, stopping a respectful distance away. "You okay, kid? You looked a little shaky in there." She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm fine, just, it's a lot." "That captain," I said, my voice dropping an octave. "He bothering you?" She froze. "Captain Vance? No, he's my commanding officer. He's just hard on everyone." "There's hard," I said, stepping closer, "and there's predatory. I know the difference." "Jack, please," she whispered, looking back at the door. "You have to go. If he sees you here." The door banged open. Captain Vance stepped out, followed by 2 other men, lieutenants by the look of them. Vance was loosening his tie, a cigarette unlit in his mouth. He stopped when he saw us. His eyes raked over me, the boots, the jeans, the trucker hat in my hand, and dismissed me instantly. "Well," Vance sneered, lighting his smoke. "Didn't know you had a fan club, Sergeant. Grandpa get lost on the way to the nursing home?" The lieutenant snickered. "He's a family friend, sir," Sarah said, snapping to attention. "He was just leaving." "I bet he was," Vance said, blowing smoke in her direction. "But you weren't dismissed, Sergeant. We were discussing your new responsibilities, specifically the transfer I authorized for you." Sarah went pale. "Sir, I told you I can't take the night shift rotation. I have night classes for my degree." Vance stepped into her space again, backing her against the brick wall. "And I told you, priorities change. You want to keep those stripes? You work the schedule I give you. And if you're nice, maybe I can find some flexibility." He reached out, his hand brushing against her shoulder, his thumb tracing the new chevron. "You look good in stripes, Sarah, but you'd look better if you loosened up." It wasn't a request. It was a threat wrapped in a proposition. I didn't think. I didn't calculate. The engine just roared to life. "Step away from her," I said. The sound of my voice surprised even me. It wasn't loud. It was the sound of tires locking up on dry pavement, a warning skid. Vance paused, looking over his shoulder like he'd forgotten I was there. "Excuse me?" I said, "Step away. You're done talking." Vance turned fully toward me, dropping his cigarette and crushing it under his polished boot. He was tall, fit, probably did CrossFit 5 times a week. He looked at me, 6'2" of road-worn iron, but grey in the beard and heavy in the middle, and he laughed. "Listen, old-timer," Vance said, walking toward me. "I don't know who you think you are, but you're on federal property. You're talking to an officer. Now get in your little pickup truck and drive away before I have the MPs toss you in a cell for trespassing." "I drove a Peterbilt here," I said calmly, "and I'm not leaving until she walks back inside safe." Vance stopped 2 feet from me. He smelled of expensive cologne and bourbon. "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." Vance looked at his lieutenants. "Boys, escort this civilian off the premises. Use whatever force is necessary." The 2 lieutenants stepped forward. They were young, strong, eager to impress the boss. The first one, a blonde kid with a buzz cut, reached for my arm. "Come on, Pops, don't make this hard." He grabbed my bicep. That was the mistake. See, people think fighting is about muscle. It's not. It's about leverage and intention. I didn't pull away. I stepped into him. I clamped my hand over his wrist, twisting it back against the joint while stepping on the inside of his boot. He yelped, his balance gone, and I shoved him backward into the dumpster with a metallic clang. The second lieutenant swung, a wild haymaker meant for my jaw. I ducked. I'm not fast, but I know where punches come from. The fist sailed over my head. I drove a short, sharp jab into his solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping for air like a fish on a dock. Vance wasn't laughing anymore. "You stupid son of a—" Vance reached for something at his belt, maybe a baton, maybe just instinct reaching for a weapon he wasn't carrying. He lunged at me. This wasn't a bar fight. This was a man trained to hurt people. He feinted left and kicked my knee. Pain shot up my leg, white-hot and blinding. My leg buckled. I went down to one knee. "Jack!" Sarah screamed. Vance didn't stop. He capitalized. He brought a knee up, catching me in the ribs. I heard a crack. The wind left me. I fell back against the brick wall, tasting copper. "You think you're tough," Vance growled, standing over me, fists clenched. "You're nothing, just a piece of civilian trash." He drew back his boot to kick me in the face. And that's when the switch flipped. It's a place I don't go often. It's a dark room in the back of my head that I keep locked and barricaded. But when the boot came, the door smashed open. I caught his ankle. Vance's eyes went wide. He tried to pull back, but my grip is from 30 years of chaining flatbeds in freezing rain. I don't let go. I twisted. Hard. Vance shouted as his support leg swept out from under him. He hit the concrete hard. I didn't wait. I was up, ignoring the screaming in my ribs. I grabbed him by the lapels of his pristine dress uniform and slammed him against the wall. His head bounced off the brick. "You don't touch her!" I growled, my face inches from his. "You don't threaten her! You don't look at her!" Vance panic swung, catching my ear, tearing the skin. Blood ran down my neck. I didn't feel it. I pulled back a fist, not a jab, but a hammer, ready to put him through the wall. "MP, stand down, on the ground." The shout came from the alley entrance. I froze. My fist was cocked. Vance was pinned, bleeding from the nose, eyes terrified. I looked up. 4 MPs with drawn sidearms were blocking the exit, and behind them, looking furious,